Hello guys, welcome back to Rush the Wash. My name is Miguel, and in today's video I want to discuss about the Heroquest and several things that you might think that are the way you think, but maybe they are not. On today's video I want to discuss the when, the where, the what, and the who inside the Heroquest box and the expansions, and let's see if this matches the Warhammer Fantasy lore as we think it does. So I'm gonna put my mentor's hat on and we're gonna start the video right away. Let's start with the where. Warhammer Fantasy and Heroquest are intrinsically linked in ways that are quite obvious because of how we read the different things that are presented to us in the books. Either the instruction book, the quest books, the expansions, they give us all this information that we think belong to the world of Warhammer Fantasy. But once you start getting into it more deeply, you will see some discrepancies here and there. So let's start with the first one. Where? Does Heroquest happen in the world of Warhammer Fantasy? Absolutely yes, yes it does, and it's confirmed by several things. The first one is when we see the expansion from the Witch Lord, the Return of the Witch Lord, at the back of the book, the quest book, we will see the map of Warhammer Fantasy back then. This is during the days of 3rd edition Warhammer Fantasy and 1st edition Warhammer Fantasy roleplay. It's a book, you know, the map is not that detailed, but you can see that is the Warhammer Fantasy world map, definitely. Also, if you check the Merlin sticker book, you will see not only the map of Warhammer Fantasy, the old world, you will see the places where the quests take place. So outstanding, yes, we know Warhammer Fantasy and Heroquest, they take place into the same world. Now let's check about the who is who in each one of them. Let's begin from the instruction book in the European version. Right away, I need to say this, I'm gonna use the European version because the European version sticks more to the Warhammer Fantasy lore than the American version. For starters, the naming is more on par to what happens on Warhammer Fantasy. So let's go through the main antagonist. This is Morcar. In Warhammer Fantasy, we have a couple of named characters called Morcar as well, with a K instead of a C. Now, why am I saying a couple of characters? Some people might believe that I'm making a mistake here, but I'm not. Bear with me. If you read the Warhammer Fantasy Armies book for High Elves 4th edition, you will see that Morcar was a Chaos Lord that was trying to invade Ulthuan and was defeated by Aenarion. Check it out. However, if you're reading the Warhammer Fantasy Chaos book, and I think it's from 8th edition, you will see that Morcar actually was the first ever chosen, and he was defeated by Sigmar Heldenhammer at the beginning of the time in the Empire. Not at the beginning of time, at the beginning of the time of the Empire, okay? When Sigmar Heldenhammer became the Emperor, beginning of time. So yeah, we have two different named characters, although they are Chaos Lords, and one of them is the Ever Chosen, so we're gonna stick to this. So does that mean that Heroquest is taking place during this time? Well, no. And although we might be tempted to think this way, because we can see the name of Sigmar on page 6 on the instruction book from Heroquest, you see there is the name for the barbarian, the recommended name for the barbarian. Many people will think that Sigmar is the barbarian in Heroquest, but he's not. And the reason for this is that when we are playing Heroquest, Heroquest has an empire. And obviously, this empire, look at the timeline, okay? Let's try to make sense of this. So Morcar is trying to destroy the empire. Morcar existed before the inception of the empire. Way long ago, he already had a war with the humans and the dwarves and the elves. And he retreated to beyond the Sea of Claws and everything, and now he's back trying to get his vengeance. So the empire does exist in Heroquest time. So yeah, the problem is with when is Heroquest happening, we don't really have a good contender here. Now, some people might think, because of the quest with Prince Magnus's gold, that this has happened during the times of Magnus the Pious. Now, Magnus the Pious is an interesting character because he defeated Asavar Kol, which was one of the Ever Chosen, when this tried to invade the Empire in the Great War against Chaos, and he defeated and he just screwed up Kislev big time. So, is Heroquest happening during the times of Magnus the Pious? No, because the ever-chosen's name is Morcar, is not Asavarkol. So when did Heroquest happen? The problem is, it doesn't fit the narrative in Warhammer Fantasy. So Heroquest didn't happen during Warhammer Fantasy times. So yeah, I mean, the reason for all this is when all these games were released. Warhammer Fantasy was in its 3rd edition, and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay was on its 1st edition, and the world behind all those was being fleshed out. And here we have Heroquest coming out from the mind of Stephen Baker. Now, Stephen Baker was a great game designer. He designed not only Heroquest, he designed Space Crusade and Battle Masters. Great mind. Believe me, Games Workshop owes this guy big money, because a lot of us started this hobby because of him. So yeah, Warhammer Fantasy 3rd edition, they were starting to flesh out this background, this place where all the battles and the races that fought these battles were living at. And that was the old world. So it was being fleshed out, all these names were coming out, and Stephen Baker, having worked for Games Workshop before, he probably had privy to many of these names and these places. So the combination of elements might be, you know, a little bit tenuous. So out of the way, we're gonna get this. Heroquest does happen in the world of Warhammer, but we do not really know when it happened in the world of Warhammer. There are a lot of elements that do fit well, but there are a few elements that do not. For instance, the wear is quite consistent. We have the World's Edge Mountains, we have Karak Varn, we have the Borderlands or the Border Princes now, we have the Sea of Claws, we have the Blackfire Pass, we have the Black Mountains, we have Athelorn or Avalorn or Atheloren, I think it's Atheloren in this case, okay? Where the elf that plays in the game comes from, apparently. Ladril is from Atheloren. And we have many places that do fit the place in the map. We actually have, as I said, a map with the places where the Heroquest quests happen at. We do have the where, we don't have the when. But that's not a big problem, is it? Now, who is who in this freaking game? Mentor and Morcar. Okay, maybe this is a curiosity for some of you. Who the heck is Mentor and who the heck is Morcar? Morcar, as we spoke already, we're not gonna compare it to the Warhammer Fantasy world because we have 2 name conventions here and they don't really fit the Heroquest world. But the problem is about the box. What do we have in the box in Heroquest that make us think who is each one of these people? Obviously, we believe that this one could be either Mentor or Morcar, or both. Now, the problem that we have is where are we gonna get the information from? As far as I know, and I check every corner in the box, but I mean, my wife also says that I cannot find my socks sometimes, so whatever. If we check the special, the winter special, we will see that this guy is actually Mentor. But if we check Merlin's sticker album, then we have a problem, because this guy is Morcar. Ah, my gosh, this is so confusing. So it all depends on where you're getting your sources. In my opinion, and this is a personal opinion, they are the same person. And this is the clue that brings me to that conclusion. Right here, that line. So Mentor says that he cannot act upon this matter with Morcar, otherwise chaos will prevail. Now that sounds like a very convenient excuse to say that I cannot do this, I'm too lazy. Alright, whatever. Jokes aside, it makes sense from a game perspective, game design perspective. You are gonna be the dungeon master, the person, you know, dealing with all the monsters and handing out the treasure. You are a dichotomy on legs. You are good and evil. You are the one handing out the treasure and dishing out the pain. So yeah, that's why. Okay, a couple of names here and there that maybe are of your interest. One, as I said, is Magnus. Magnus the Pious could be very well tied to the world of Warhammer Fantasy. We don't know who this person is though. Sir Ragnar is going to have a comeback in the Return of the Witch Lord. Very interesting. You try to help him and look at that. And he's a backstabber. Yeah. Ulag is the guy who kidnaps Sir Ragnar, and he has his name in a magical item from the Warhammer Fantasy Orcs and Goblins book, 7th edition, Ulag's Acrid Axe. But one of the places that I'm interested most is Barak Tor, which doesn't appear at all in the world of Heroquest. However, I found this, check it out, okay? Because this music is quite cool if you want to play Heroquest with it. Yeah, man, yeah, the internet is wonderful. So who is the Witch Lord? This guy who becomes our antagonist at the end of the first book quest, and then he becomes the big center of one of the expansions, the Return of the Witch Lord. Well, obviously he has no equivalent in the Warhammer world, but we can think of him as either a Van Damnek, yes, that's the Van Dam, yeah, Van, why this name? Or as an Nagash of sorts. When we read the background for Return of the Witch Lord, it seems as if our heroes go into southern lands in the middle of a desert, which fits very well with Nagash's theme. So yeah, I think, you know, this is very interesting. Back in the day, they were just using these ideas, reusing them, recycling them, and yeah. Interestingly enough, Warhammer Quest uses two expansions that follow the same premise as the two expansions from Heroquest. One is with greenskins and the other one is with undead. So we have Keller's Keep, and we have Return of the Witch Lord, and then we have the Lair of the Orc Lord, and then we have the Catacombs of Terror. I mean, they are not the most original people, but their ideas make sense to me. One more piece of lore. This is a little bit more obscure. Let me know if you knew this. Borin's Armor. Borin's Armor is a unique item for the game, and it's given to you in the Fire Mage quest. This armor, which might seem that has no relationship whatsoever with Warhammer, I think I found a link with the lore of Warhammer Fantasy. If we check this expansion from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, there is this guy called Borin, and Borin was an Imperial Dwarf that started adventuring through different places just to find more magical items and learn more about magical items from the dwarves. It is a tantalizing idea that maybe Borin's armor was either his armor or he created this armor. I hope this video was interesting for you if you wanted to learn a little bit more about Warhammer lore and Heroquest lore and how do they combine. And just to sum it up, yes, Heroquest happens in the Warhammer lore, but no, we don't really know when does it happen, if it happens at all, in the real timeline of Warhammer Fantasy lore. So there you have it, a few items here and there about Warhammer lore combined to Heroquest lore, the when, the what, the who, etc, etc. All these things that become proto-Warhammer lore nowadays are canon, and some of them are not. So, you know, those things go different ways sometimes. People have design ideas and they just throw them in the trash bin. What will happen with Heroquest from now onwards is quite exciting. I'm really looking forward to see how the lore develops and if it is anything resembling to what we had before. If you see anything that I made a mistake, or if you really have a good idea of when Heroquest takes place, what moment in the Warhammer lore does it take place, please tell us down there, because I did my research, but obviously there is so much stuff all over the place, all over the websites. You know, Warhammer Wiki has a lot about it. You can find all these books in the Trove. You can learn a lot of different obscure details here and there. There were so many designers involved in this that the amount of information is flabbergasting. So thank you very much for watching the video thus far. Give me a like if you have enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. And please share any details, any piece of lore that you know that we do not know, something obscure. I love obscure details that you have never heard of about these old games and how they became what we love and cherish nowadays, the old growners and the old nerds like myself. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.